The following episode contains a narrative of the passing of an individual. Discussions about loss and grief can be deeply personal and emotional, and we urge you to take care of yourself and your mental health.
Axons Unleashed.
G'day ladies and gents, Robbie Turner's my name. Welcome to another cracking episode of Axons Unleashed. Now, as I speak to you now in the first sort of 10 days or so in Christmas 2023, I hope all of you have had an amazing year and you're happily sprinting towards the end of the line to burst through that sort of tape and go, that's it, I'm on fucking leave for the rest of the year. So I really, really hope that everyone has a fantastic Christmas and New Year break. You get to speak to me and my team tomorrow night. That'll be in the future by the time that sort of happens. And we'll all sort of say a nice little farewell to you there. As you can sort of see, it's just me in the studio today. I've got two amazing people dialing in from the south coast of New South Wales, John and Sarah Vardy. Thank you so much for joining me on Axons Unleashed. How are you guys going this morning?
Yeah, Robbie, thanks for having us. We're good, yeah.
Fantastic.
In sunny Batemans Bay.
Yeah, mate, for sure. How's the weather down there?
It's cloudy and rainy.
Oh, that's no good. I know you guys have had a heap of bloody rain down there recently. Batemans Bay does cop it from a weather point of view. The story that we're going to go on for you guys, is phenomenal. Ladies and gents, don't miss this one. We've got John's ex-Air Force. I'll take you through it all, but I'm just sort of positioning it all at the moment. John's ex-Air Force, now a paramedic. Sarah's been by his side the whole time. They've bought and built 2 properties with us here at Axon, and Sarah's been a long-term serving member of the New South Wales Police Force. So we've got, 2 emergency services people here now talking to this old bloody broken veteran about life, about, relationships, about property, about sort of giving back and serving the community. So I'm really looking forward to everyone strapping themselves in for this one, and away we go. We'll just go on the normal little story arc, John, and let's sort of, really open up your life a little bit and tell everyone about you. Tell me, mate, where'd you grow up and what were your first thoughts about joining the military?
So I grew up in down New South Wales South Coast, a little town called Maria near Batemans Bay, and went to school down there. Was towards sort of the end of high school, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Everyone down here really either goes to uni or starts a trade, and I wasn't really book smart. I hated school, wasn't interested in it, and wasn't really particularly good with my hands either. Like, I think I was probably last in woodwork most years and stuff. To end up going into the military, well, I had a couple of family members, like a couple of grandfathers, or grandfather and uncle or something that had served. I knew that, didn't know them, but was interested by it. One of my old man, his friends actually served in the Air Force for, he was still serving at the time that I joined. I started talking to him a little bit about the service life and what his particular job would have to offer, which he was an Airfield defence guard in the Air Force, and I can hear all the AJs laughing now.
That's the nickname that used to be put forward to that? The RAAF SAS, that's right. Yeah. I didn't come up with that. I think that whoever came up with that's a fucking wanker, quite frankly, because the capability that you guys do in your own, or that Airfield Defence Guards do, doesn't need to be compared to anyone else, and you don't need to try and, pony on the back of someone else. So that's good, mate. I didn't realise that there was a sort of a reasonably strong RAAF connection. And just quickly before you go on, what year are we talking about? I'm just trying to situate.
It's the 2009 I left school.
2000, yeah, righto. Everyone listening right now, like, oh yeah, I was posted to Darwin at that time. So I'm just sort of allowing people to understand where they were when you were going through your own, transition from leaving school, trying to work out, like everyone does it. What am I going to do when I leave school? And you do lean on family and friends. And would you agree, some of the personal influences? And I guess if the conversations you've been having with these people right now, if they hated their time in the military, you probably wouldn't have joined.
Yeah, definitely not. No. So this particular friend of ours was pretty keen on his job. He ended up going to do other bigger and better things within the army, but his job in the RAAF, he kind of sold it to me. It sounded pretty fun, camping, fishing, shooting guns, and blowing stuff up. So yeah, it seemed like it was going to be a good job for an 18-year-old with no idea what the fuck to do to go into.
Good. So how did you literally just contact the local recruitment agency office down there? Like, how does that work if you're in a sort of semi-rural area of New South Wales to join the military?
There's no DFR down here, so it was all online at that point. So to do any of my, like, I don't know if they've changed it, what it's called now, but like U session and stuff like that, you'd go to Canberra and spend a day up there doing all the testing and stuff that you'd have to do. So yeah, kind of worked my way through that for the last probably 12 months of my schooling, with that being my plan to go into the Air Force. And
Right, so you didn't get to the end of your schooling and then wanted to know what you're doing. There was just like a bit of concurrent activity going on. You were like,
I knew, like, I had other mates, like, I'm going to go to uni, do teaching, or I'm going to go to uni and do like exercise science or shit like that. And all I knew was that, on the books at school, I didn't do too good. This job sounded cool, and you get paid a decent wage from, straight out of high school. I was like, yeah, let's have a crack. I was also keen to like move away from home as well, because I thought I'd like to see a bit of the country and move away a bit. So
yeah,
that was defence was a good opportunity for that.
Every single person right now who's joined defence is relating so much to this. I'm even relating to it from bloody 30 plus years ago. So yeah, you do want to get out of a small country town, go and explore the place a little bit more. You don't want to be stuck doing what everyone else is doing. If you want to be able to work in a great team and like be challenged all the time and like good, basically follow what's on the glossy brochure, right? Well, I was reading a brochure, you were going through web pages, same but different over the years. So where did you land when? Talk to me about basic training. Like, what's this is something obviously I haven't had got experience like. What's RAAF basic training like?
Well, I guess it's comparable to what Kabuki would be, I imagine, and stuff like that. It's probably a little bit less intense, but the start of it being an 18-year-old straight out of high school, being thrust into this military environment, it was intimidating. Like, I remember rocking up to the base. We got off the bus and got into the foyer to get our keys and stuff, and I was standing with my hands in my pockets, and whatever MSI corporal was on at the time yelling at me to keep my hands out of my pockets and stuff. I was like, beating out of my chest. What am I doing here?
Yep.
And that wasn't even day one. That was day zero.
Good, serious question. Do you go there and get your head shaved?
Yeah, head shaved. Yeah.
Number one haircut.
I thought I did a good enough job before I got there. Like, I had a number 4.
Righto. And they're like, nice try, champ. We're going shorter than that.
Had to go skin. Had to pay $20 to get my head shaved.
Of course.
Yeah. The thing I was most dirty about.
What a good little bloody money spinny that is. You just sit up there and you've got bloody week after week after week recruits coming through. You're just going, bzz, happy days.
The fathers are killing it. Yeah, absolutely.
What did you find most challenging at basics? Like, once you sort of got into the groove of things, you're like, holy shit, this is the real thing now. I'm in the military. Was there one part of it that you found really difficult? Like, we're talking like drill, weapons, teamwork, discipline, all that sort of stuff. Is there something that you really struggle with?
I probably wasn't the best at drill, and in hindsight, like now with tight hips and shoulders and stuff, it's probably contributed like to it physically. But anyway, I passed all that. I ended up being a bit of a grey man through recruits. I don't know. I don't really make a fuss or ask too many questions and stuff. I just kind of do what I'm told. And I remember it got up to like week 8 or something. So we're like, maybe 7. Like, with 3 or 2 weeks from finishing, and I can't remember what they called them. I got like a record of conversation, like stating that I wasn't really putting in, and that I wasn't following directions, and that I wasn't making myself known within the course as a leader or anything. I'm like, yeah, I'm just trying to do my thing. Like, trying to blend in.
So it's basically like someone's like, we know you're being the grey man, John. Give me some more, champion. Come on.
That's essentially, I got told, like, you're not asking enough questions, you're not contributing enough. So for the last couple of weeks, I got the piss pulled out of me by my mates and shit, because I was just asking questions in class all the time. Then I was like, all right, like, one of my mates is like saying a joke about it. It's like, I've already asked her the other day, why is the window open in the middle of class and shit? I was talking about airplane command. I was like, oh yeah, what's the range of that or whatever? And it's like, dude, just shut up.
The old pendulum, isn't it, Sarah? The old pendulum swung too far the other way.
Yeah, Timmy could be the brain man now. Annoying that ask questions all the time.
Hey, so tell me, do you, when you go through RAAF basic training, do you get allocated a trade or something like towards the end of it? Or did you know what you were going to end up doing?
No, you already know before you go.
Before you go, yeah, right.
I already knew I was going in as an airfield defence guard.
Yep.
And there was about 30 other blokes on my course that were doing the same thing. It's a very young, male-dominated course. Lots of masculinity and testosterone. It was pretty funny.
Serious question. Do they have females in the ADGs now then? Probably.
They do now, yeah.
Yeah. Not back then, though. So this is 2010 you're going through basic training?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I see 13, 10. Yeah, right. 13, 14 years ago.
The first female, maybe 2000 was it when we were in Adelaide, 2015, 16?
No, I couldn't tell you. I think it was probably around 2000. It was when we were in, the first female ADG was actually at Williamtown when I was there, so 2017 or 18.
Oh, okay.
Okay, right. Yeah, the Defence Force has gone through a bit of a change as far as that goes. So where's your first posting then? Left recruit school. Where did you go and train and learn how to be an AG?
At Amberley, Brisbane, West Brisbane.
Yep. Is that where the AG school is, for want of a better term?
Yes, RAAF SFS is the name of the school, Security Fire School.
Yep.
So I spent 8 months there doing all the basic soldiering sort of stuff, I guess.
Yeah, great. And then from there, do you have a bit of a choice as far as where you want to go? They're like, right, because effectively anywhere where there's an airfield, there's going to be an AG section.
Yeah. At the time, it was structured a little bit differently for our mustering. So full time airfield defence guards were all based out of Amberley.
Right.
Two different units there, 1 and 2 AFDS. Because of so I actually joined up through a continuous full-time service pathway. So I was doing 1 year or 11 months or whatever of full-time service and then reserve thereafter because there was no other intake method. So because of the way that pathway that I chose, we ended up going down to Adelaide for the remainder of our 11 months.
Yeah, righto.
So with some extra training and stuff down there after our IETs were done.
Yeah, good. You didn't stay in AGs though, did you? You ended up transferring into. Give us a bit of an understanding of what the sort of the macro steps were of the rest of your career.
I did a couple of years in the ADGs and quickly kind of realised that I don't want to do this forever. It was fun while I was young and in my early 20s and stuff, hanging out with a bunch of other blokes, similar sort of personalities and idea of fun, but. I got kind of I guess you'd call it an epiphany or something. I realised that what I wanted to do when I was doing pre-deployment training before going over to Tarankat in Afghanistan. So we did a bunch of combat first aid training. No, not combat first aid. What's it called? TCCC training. Mm-hmm. Tactical combat casualty care. So do a bunch of that. I thought that was pretty interesting. It's pretty cool. Throwing on tourniquets and putting chest seals on and dragging people out of the firefights and stuff was pretty fun, training. And I got interested in it whilst I was overseas, read up about it a bit more and stuff. It ended up taking me, it was a good 3 years after that before I actually applied for an EOI that came out to remuster to be a RAAF medic.
Yep.
And I managed to pull that off, 2015 was when I got my transfer.
Got it. And are we starting to approach that time whereby Sarah's in your life yet? Can you remind me what year did you guys meet?
Yeah, sorry, backtrack a bit. Sarah's in the picture by
end of
2000, by this time.
Yeah, end of 2011.
Right.
So he was still at Amberley with the boys. You can imagine.
Yes.
In the townhouse, housemates, going out every Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. So yeah.
And Sunday RBOBs. Yep, that as well. Yep. How did you guys meet then? Tell us that little story, Sarah. Yeah, welcome to the podcast as well.
So I moved to the Gold Coast it was originally meant to be for 6 months in the middle of 2011 with some girlfriends, and we used to go out many times a week in South Australia. And John was living in Brisbane, and he had some mates come up from the South Coast for a holiday, and they were all staying on the Gold Coast, and we just happened to be both out at the same time in a nightclub and just randomly met, and
Two
that was
worlds
pretty much it.
worlds
We just-
collide.
Yeah, that was it. We just met one night and then kept catching up and didn't stop catching up.
And what were you doing with yourself at that time?
I worked at the Sheraton Mirage, so hospitality. The plan was just to go up there for 6 months, and then I really had no idea. But after I met John and realised that I'm probably going to stay up here, I decided to enrol in university and started a criminology degree pretty much in January of that next year.
Nice. Good. And then when did you guys actually know that you were like going to be a thing, going to be an item, or was that a bit of something that happened quite quickly?
I don't know if we ever had a formal discussion about it.
It just happened.
Oh, I came down and met his parents
Oh, yeah, that's probably
in
it.
Christmas that year. So it was about 5 months after no, not even that.
It's like,
Maybe 3 months after we'd met. Came
It's generally
down
a very key combat indicator if you're meeting the parents. I think someone's even made a movie about this one day or something. Meet the parents, meet the Fockers. What was that like for you, Sarah? Are you someone that gets sort of overwhelmed by that stuff, like meeting the family, or were you really excited to go down there and sort of see the rest of sort of John's folk?
I was excited. I think I knew that we were going to be together for a little while. I just had a feeling, and kind of just made that decision that I was going to stay up and go to uni, and I hoped it would all worked out, but I think I knew it would.
Amazing.
Anyway.
So you guys were living up here in the Gold Coast, in Queensland, I should say, in Brizzy for quite a while. Then when did that sort of come to an end?
so I deployed in 2012, 13. Got back from that, and 6 months later we moved to Adelaide. Sarah's from Adelaide, and a posting position came up down there for me. So we were like, yeah, let's do something different and move down there, be closer to Sarah's family and friends.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And then are you a couple of years into your criminology degree by now, Sarah?
Yeah, I did. So we were together like a year, and then you went to Afghanistan for 8 months, which was really hard. And then I was just doing my degree. And then, sorry, what was the question again?
I was just, were you were able to take your degree in some element of work to you with South Australia?
Yes, I did it online. I only did, not very long on campus, and then maybe 3 years online, which was really hard.
Yeah. So you guys are living down in Adelaide. I'm a Port Pirie boy, as you know. So all my friends, family, and cousins and uncles and all that sort of stuff are still back down in Adelaide. I'm going to go back there in February, March next year. Mum's selling the family home and finally moving into town, so I need to head back up to Port Pirie and go and say goodbye to the one family home I've ever had. So it'll be good to do that. There will be some stops off at the Barossa and the like along the way, no doubt, because I never did that as a kid. Obviously, when you're like 15, 16, 17 playing footy, who gives a fuck about wine? I know all about it now. I can't believe that we were like an hour's drive away from the world's best bloody region in wine. So how long did you guys spend in Adelaide?
When did we get down there? 2014? Maybe a year?
Yeah, 12 to 18 months, I think.
Yeah.
And then you ended up going to Wodonga for 6 months. So we did another 6 months apart then, because you were training.
Yeah, when I started my medic training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sarah, you mentioned that John being across to over in Afghanistan is difficult, and obviously separation in some way, shape or form, it just comes with the territory when we're talking about, service life, defence, spouse, whatever it is. You guys hadn't had kids at that stage, so, but you still found it quite hard. What was the hardest part about it?
Well, I was away from my parents or my mum, and I was an hour and a half away from any other family, going to uni, and I just was very lonely. I found it very difficult just not having him there and
not
being
knowing
able
when
to
the next.
walk.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah, it's very, very difficult sometimes to put a proper schedule in place. And then, of course, if the schedule is in place and then he misses a schedule, you're like, what the fuck's happened? Why isn't he on? Why aren't I talking to him at this time? So,
And even just talking on the phone, like that's hard because you kind of like, oh, what do we talk about? Like, there's only so much, and then you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to go because there's not really anything to talk about.
It's really hard from your perspective as well, John, because you want to be able to tell her what you've been up to, but of course you can't from an OPSEC point of view. So all you're doing is talking about what's happening back home, which you've got no real context of. So it's a weird little dynamic, isn't it? And I hope everyone listening again now can like completely understand and sort of acknowledge where that's at. We met in 2020, and you guys were already in Newcastle by then. Take me on the journey. How did you guys get to Newcastle?
So I, from Adelaide, remustered to medic. Had to do 18 months training at Albury Wodonga to do my medic training.
How'd you find that? Because you said doing the training, the TCCC training, like interested you, and now actually doing the training for real, was that just like to another level?
Yeah, I liked the course. I really enjoyed the course. The training is price service there, so we've got Army, Navy, Air Force all training as medics together. And when I went through it, I thought it was pretty well done. They've changed the course bucket loads now. I don't know what the structure looks like now, but we did a bit of nursing, a bit of paramedicine, and a bit of like military medicine sort of things all throughout the course. And I did really enjoy it. And I actually, I was saying before, I wasn't very book smart in high school, but I actually performed pretty well. I guess because I was interested in medicine.
That's the one thing.
Kind of easier to study. I have one of my mates. He's actually not with us anymore, but he called me the dumbest smart that he knew, or smartest dumb that he knew. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
Because I was known for being a bit of a ditz, but also getting like good grades and stuff in the course.
Everybody.
True story. I've been called that myself a few times over the years. Take it as a compliment, mate. Take it as a compliment. Is this like you say something really smart, and someone who thinks you're a bit of a dislike? How the fuck do you know that? And you become the phrase that you just said before. I haven't had too many people drop some C-bombs on here, but I'm sure Daniel will take care of that little small one there. No, it's all right. You just keep being yourself, mate. Don't worry about it.
I dropped one earlier too.
I think you did. Daniel will go back and find it. I've hurt myself a lot over the years, and being cared for by professional people in the medical field is like just super high on my radar. Like I think it's a field that is very, very giving, very thankless, very serving. You know, what's it like for you, mate? I know you've had to look after a bunch of people. So it was still in the Air Force at this time. What was sort of probably the most traumatic or decent injury that you had to treat someone when you finished your training and then went to Newcastle?
Well, I'll go back a little bit. Like this, like I said, the sexy stuff sort of like interested me in the job. Plugging bullet holes and putting tourniquets on and shit like that. But the reality of it is, when you get to your unit, it doesn't happen.
That's right. Which is a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in Air Force, people tend to not injure themselves that much. And actually end up doing like a lot of primary healthcare, and that really interested me a lot as well.
When you say primary healthcare, just for our listeners, just explain that for us.
Yes. Yeah, sorry. So like what's the way to put it? You go see your doctor, your GP, or you go to the med RAP on base or whatever.
Yep.
You see your medic. They work you out, take your blood pressure, all that sort of stuff, treat whatever ailment you have, send you on your way. That's like primary healthcare, like the basic stuff, non-emergency sort of stuff, generally. So doing all that sort of thing, talking to people, helping people, giving them a bit of direction when they come in to see me, and helping them through our sort of healthcare system. Like, I really got a kick out of that. I really got a kick out of the thanks that I got from my patients and stuff as well. And I really enjoy talking to people and getting to know people around the base and stuff. So that was the majority of my career as a medic. There was maybe a couple of, I can probably think of on one hand of a couple of sick people that I did see throughout my career. And the worst actually did pass away. The cause of which I don't really know, so I can't really talk much about it. it was a young bloke that that had collapsed whilst doing PFT, and by all means, like the clinical picture of what me and my partner sort of saw that day, it doesn't really make sense to like what you would think of like a heat stress or like exercise-induced anaphylaxis or something like that. Like it was a weird one, which, to be honest, I've actually still been thinking about, inquiring about lately. I've reached out to the senior doctor that still works at that base to try and figure out, what the fuck happened to that dude.
You don't really get any closure.
Nah, no closure at all.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was it's probably like towards the end of my career in defence as well. It wasn't by all means, it didn't change the direction of my career, but it's still one of those moments that, like, I've been on road now as a paramedic for 2 years, and I'm still like, I don't know what the fuck happened that day. So,
yeah. And Sarah, tell us about because I saw you evolve as well. When did you start to get into the whole police force thing?
So pretty much when we moved to Newcastle at the start of 2017, I'd already had over the previous years in the back of my mind that I wanted to join the police force, and I just didn't know which force we were going to join because we were moving around so much. But John's parents are both retired New South Wales police cops, and I'd finished my degree and we'd just moved to New South Wales. So that was when I put the wheels in motion, and it took me about a year. And then I started the year after at the start of 2018.
Great. Tell me about your little, what's basic training like when so do you go down to Goulburn, is it?
Yeah, Goulburn for 8 months, which has changed in the last few years now. It's not as long. But yeah, that's hard. 5 days a week. You get to come home on the weekends. You're in your little dorm. Yeah, it's full on.
Going through a transition period. What did you, same sort of question I asked John, was there something down there that you felt like you really struggled with? Or conversely, were you something that you're really good at naturally?
I love the academic side. I love learning, sitting in a classroom. The physical side was really intimidating to me. It's not something that I'm used to.
Yep.
Like John, I just put it down, through it, don't stand out, just do what I got to do. Yeah, but that was tough.
Is it, I can only assume that the answer to this is yes, like the relationships that you forge with your fellow people that you're on, recruit basic training with, are you still in touch with some of those people now? Like, you've only people that were there at that time have got that experience of like what Class 34 was like, for instance?
Yeah. Not too many people, but there is one girl that I'm very close to. They're actually going to her wedding this week.
Oh, amazing.
The one clear point that sticks out in my mind is I went down there on the first day and I thought, going into training that we just rocked up on our own, but everyone brought their families and their friends to help them set up their room. So I was completely on my own, and she was my next door neighbour, and she came to me and actually set my bed up and made my bed for me, and that stuck out. That stuck out for the rest of our relationship. So
I reckon every single person has got a memory of that one person that helped them a lot during basic training. I've certainly got one from there was an older guy. I was 17. I had two 18-year-olds and a 25 or 27-year-old guy. And it's like 10 years older than us. That's a massive jump when you're at that age, if you all remember. Trenta was his last name. I can't remember his bloody first name now because there are no fucking first names down there. Everyone's just got surnames only. Yeah, he someone 10 years older in my room trying to rein this thing in as a 17-year-old who still thought he was bloody back in Port Pirie playing football. I was walking around calling the bloody recruit instructors the C-bomb John. That only happened twice until I had some corrective behaviour come my way to get that fixed. That you can't do that. But mate, yeah, it's so good to know, Sarah, that you've got that sort of memories of someone who helped you in that time of need. And I'm sure there's plenty of other people that would no doubt say that you've been able to help them along the way as well. Tell me about so you guys you're in Newcastle, John. You're doing your time as a medic, Sarah. You're forging your way into a career now as a New South Wales police officer. How did you come across Axon? Because that's when we crossed paths, wasn't it? Early 2020. Well, just tell us who found me, who watched the videos, who was skeptical, who thought I was a wanker. Like, what was your first impressions? Like all that sort of stuff.
I think I saw you come up on Facebook somewhere, from memory.
Yeah, you would have.
I've not long got back from a Dubai trip, so we had a bit of extra savings in the bank, and we both talked about like sort of buying property before, and never really got started on it. Like I read a book or two, well, a book and a half or something, but didn't really know where to start. And yeah, saw Axon pop up in our feed, watched some of your videos that you put out.
And the live.
The live, yeah, we watched the
We
live
both
as
sat and
well,
watched the live.
taking
good.
notes.
Good.
Yeah, and after that we were like, oh, let's put a discovery session and
a
see
chat.
what we can do.
Yeah, good. What did you think, Sarah? We've already had this chat, but like take the rest of the sort of viewers along. Did it give you that little bit extra confidence that John had found not just a bunch of civvies to work with, like there's veterans now reaching out and, providing services back to the defence community, and like, the first responder and emergency services community at large?
Yeah. I mean, I was skeptical at first, but then knowing that you guys were all in defence, that put a lot more trust in me that you guys were doing the right thing, and you weren't just, I don't know, those dodgy Facebook pages that you see out there.
I get them too. I have dodgy people trying to sell me shit all the time.
But yeah, just I think that defence background definitely put some trust back in. For sure.
Good. And it allows us to be ourselves in front of you. Like we can use acronyms and jargon and terms and swearing and whatever else. So it's got to be that really comfortable environment whereby, all the other bullshit's out the way and you're just literally focused on what is it you're trying to achieve and what pathway can we all create together to sort of have that up and running. Just, John, in your own words, how was the building of your first property, which is now sitting, very healthy in your portfolio? What was that like? It's almost like doing your first parachute jump. It's going to be exciting. There's a lot of things to focus on, but if everything works out well, you'll get to the end and go, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I can't compare it to jumping out of a plane with a parachute. I've never done that.
Sure.
It was nerve-wracking. Like obviously any sort of investment comes with a potential risk. So it was nerve-wracking knowing that we were starting this process, and at one point there'd be no turning back. If everything went to shit, we'd be losing a bunch of money. But the way that we were sort of supported through it by Axon, it kind of felt really easy and smooth. We were aware of everything that was happening all the time. The Axon team was reaching out to us and keeping us updated. If I had any dumbass questions, I always just had someone a phone call away that I could ring up and be like, hey, how do I fill this form out correctly? Or what's this form mean? What's this term mean? And shit like that. And I was able to give me the right answer. So,
have you guys sort of pondered that now that you've been through the whole process twice, those other poor young families that either don't know about getting help or choose not to get help, and they've got to navigate all of that stuff themselves in their spare time? No one's running like back channel ops for them. No wonder it's so bloody scary and difficult to sort of get things right. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's very scary. And you guys gave us that education on what the risks were and what would happen if certain things would happen. And that kind of just cleared our minds that, okay, well, this may not work out, but at least we know exactly what's going to happen if shit hits the fan, and we can deal with it.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have known that otherwise. It's just so overwhelming.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. The golden nugget of all the information we put out there, including all the stuff we do on our regular Facebook Lives and everything, the stories from the trenches about what's going on in the property space, is the management of risk. It's the main reason why I put forward all that info, was to let people know what's going on out there. So if you encounter something like that, you know that there's a solution, or at least like it's not the first time you've heard of it. So, all of us live in an environment whereby the mission's going to go ahead. Like, Sarah, every time you go out on the beat right now, you fucking might run into someone bloody crazy. I note very sadly, was it yesterday or today? It's the 1 year anniversary of the shooting up in the bloody backcountry there. Those two officers lost their lives. So they didn't wake up that morning knowing that was going to occur. So, there is an element of danger and risk that the first responders and the military face every day. That you just need to be able to, you can't put your head in the sand and just hope nothing's going to go wrong. I'm not trying to be too dramatic about it, but it's the same thing that goes with investing in property. there are things that can go wrong, and you've got to be able to make sure you embrace risk management and have those hindsight conversations up front so you can extinguish something if it sort of comes your way. I think it was a sort of a part of our sort of ongoing coaching and mentoring. I don't know, I'm going to sort of touch base with you guys, or maybe one of you reached out to me, and then we sort of put a plan in place to see what IP number 2 would look like. But in the meantime, John, you'd started your transition process.
Yeah.
Take us down that path, mate, please.
It kind of happened pretty quickly, I guess. But whilst we were talking about IP2, I put in an application to join the state ambulance service. I'd been studying whilst I was a medic just to keep the brain ticking, to keep learning, because that's something I've enjoyed since I started working in medicine.
Awesome.
So, initially just a bit of continued professional development, but eventually finished that degree. Saw a vacancy open up with the state service and thought, I'll throw my hat in the ring for it, see how it goes. Still posted to Williamtown at this point, and still have another 18 months or so in location before I'd probably be posted out. So I thought it was a good time to see what other sort of options might be out there. It was about 6 months or so recruitment process, and then I got offered a position in February of the following year. I stayed in location, but I did change units. So I just started at a new unit, which was a previous unit of mine. And I think on the third week, I said, to my boss, hey boss, I've actually got a job offer. I start in a couple of weeks.
What was their response to that?
It was actually really supportive.
Great to hear.
I did tell them straight up when I posted in that I had an application in with the state service. And they were like, all right, just keep us in the loop. It turned out that long service leave to cover a transition period whilst my separation went through.
Yeah, good.
It was all guns blazing, pretty much.
Now, tell me, did the state ambulance service, were they able to recognise and basically bring on all of the military skills from being an Air Force medic? Like, did you find the transition reasonably easy?
Yeah, so my transition was pretty easy. Yeah, like the recruitment process I went through was the same as any other degree graduate, just through their intern pathway. But I did find working for a state ambulance service, I found it reasonably familiar. They've got a chain of command. They've got work orders, which are kind of like directives and stuff like that. It all felt very similar from a structure sort of.
Yeah.
So I guess that made the transition a bit easier. Into working in the civil workforce. I kind of felt like I was taking a break until I did opt to stay on as a reservist. But
yeah, and like you said, like there's uniforms, there's rank, there's structure, there's discipline, there's a schedule, there's the directives, etc. That And Sarah, have you got a bit of indication, like what percentage do you think has probably got a military background, like in the New South Wales Police Force, like as a whole? Is it generally like you hear about it and you sort of see it? There's ex-military guys in the police force.
I've come across a few, but I wouldn't say it's very common. I've come across a few, but I wouldn't say it's common.
Yeah, okay, no worries. Yeah, it's definitely there's a handful of guys and girls that I've known that have got out of the military and have since gone to the police force, ambos and or fireys. So certainly, and I think for the reasons John you just put forward there, it's like it feels nice, it feels right. To have that uniformity, that rank structure, that discipline, the teamwork. You can rely upon your oppo. Like that they've been through a set of training similar to what you have. So if you need to go to them, for assistance, then it just makes it a little bit easier. Something else quite big in your life had changed at that time. We're sort of talking about mid 21 through to early 22. Is it your first daughter was born as well? Yeah. What was that sort of change like You know, so, you know, John, you're thinking about going through a transition. Obviously, Sarah, you had to take some time off work. I know you sort of worked up, you know, until you could, and then went on mat leave and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that was hard because, well, I had our daughter, and that's when you were sort of in that process of finishing up your study and applying for the ambulance service. And I was still on mat leave. I was about to go back within about 4 months. And he rang me and he said, I've been offered a position, but it's in Inverell, which is 5 hours away from where we live. And so that was like, oh shit, what are we going to do now? I'm about to go back to work. How are we going to do this?
Yes, I actually had to look up where Inverell was, and when I saw it, I had to zoom out. I didn't even know my zoom went that far. Way out there, country, the western parts of the country, New South Wales. So a lot of people do the FIFO, but you were doing the Dido, drive in, drive out, weren't you?
Yeah, it's definitely the shitter option.
But you know what? You made it work, mate. I remember having conversations. So there was a fair bit going on at that time. Coming back from mat leave, daughter's quite young, transitioning from defence, sort of started a little bit doing. Now you got a remote sort of location. We're in the process of trying to get your finance approved for IP number 2. So there was a fair bit of chaos going on in your life. But you know what? When you have the background and you have the coaching and you have that sort of military and or police training where you do face a bit of chaos every now and then, as long as you systematically work through what needs to be done and don't get overwhelmed with, you know, things too much, you're able to get through it. And, you know, hey, presto, you guys did. I remember, John, you're like, I'll just find somewhere that's cheap to live. I'll have a very casual sort of lease agreement there. I won't have a huge overhead as far as rent going out the door when I'm at Inverell. So it was actually good to be a part of. And I think we did like 4 or 5 little, you know, mini sessions there over a couple of months period, just to be able to make sure that your macro and micro timeline was synchronizing all these sort of moving parts. Did you find that helpful that you're able to have someone like this that could like bring up the timeline and map it all out? It's like doing a bit of life planning, really.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
At least it was a plan of something.
I think if we didn't have you guys, we probably would have that would have been the first thing out the door.
You went too hard. See you later.
Too much. But yeah.
Yeah, good. And of course, you went through the build for your second property then, and you know that is like doing a second parachute jump. You know that everything's going to be okay. But yeah, that's you know, I know that we used slightly different builder, different location, different sort of circumstances there. But again, no doubt, because you knew the tempo and you knew that support and you knew, John, to use your words, the dumb questions were going to be answered for you straight away. Did you find doing the second property just even more of a set and forget? Like as a pure little side project for you?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, there was times where like we had to do stuff with the property, like sign paperwork and stuff like that when we were doing, you know, big life things like moving house and shit like that. I think we got our property tenanted about the same time that we were moving down
to Bateman's Bay. Yeah.
The day that we moved out to the South Coast was the day that the realtor rang me and said, "We've got these tenants. Are you happy with them? They're going to sign the lease." So that was all happened at the same time.
So we don't like doing one thing at a time. Yeah, we just all that shit all at once.
Try and stack it on top of each other and see if you can just bloody work through it, which is really good. You just actually reminded me, John, when you said before that you grew up down that way. This is like pretty much like going back home for you, right?
Yeah. I've got my parents live real close nearby. One of my sisters lives nearby. Still got some friends in the area and stuff. Yeah, it's different.
And they would have absolutely loved, you know, having you back. You know, you've done your time, done a few things in the Air Force. Come back home while still living and working in a job and a role that you love. Sarah, easy for you as well, right? Within New South Wales, transfer, internal for you. I remember asking you a bunch of questions like that. I bet your parents and the rest of your family, John, are just like overly proud of you, surely.
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
You don't need to be humble here, mate. Sarah, I bet you see it, no doubt, when they're talking about him and with him and just enjoying his frequent company. Because even though, as you said, mate, and I loved doing it as well, I'm still very close with mum and dad, and you know, broadly sisters as well. but I've seen them at best once a year for the last 30 years, because you just like when you do, you know, join the big machine, and that big machine takes you away from home, you only go back, you know, infrequently at best. I mean, what was your rate of going back home and sort of visiting family when you were posted away, John, for instance?
Oh, I'd probably be lucky to come down here once or twice a year.
Correct.
Back down home.
Exactly.
Fortunately, my parents like traveling and stuff, so that they saw us a bit more often than that. But still, like, you know, months between seeing family members and stuff. Yeah, sure.
As opposed to now, it's like a matter of weeks or probably days, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen them since I've been off work for maybe 4 days. And
it's time, mate. No, but that's good. It's fantastic. Sarah, I asked you this question on one of our other coaching sessions at the end of the build for number 2. Do you like to lead you don't work actually in Bateman's Bay, do you? Like, where's your local police station? Because I'm just sort of thinking like, oh, there's the local paramedic, there's the local police officer. Sort of, you guys feel like you're a bit of a celebrity couple down there, but I'm sure that's not the limelight that you want whatsoever.
No, so I work actually in the town that John grew up in, which is where my father-in-law used to work. It's a smaller town, so I've only been there a few months, and I'm very well known with the locals already. It doesn't take long. It's just the one truck.
Yeah.
Just float around the town doing the jobs that we need to do, and any assistance we get the guys from Bateman's Bay to come down. But it just depends.
Any hairy stories worth mentioning so far? Any locals being bloody bullfeds that you've had to pull them up about?
I had someone decide to jump out of a second-story balcony the other night. So that was fun. Right.
Yeah, jumping off things and hurting lower limbs is the reason why I've had to be in such deep medical care before. So yeah, they won't do that again in a hurry, I'm sure. What's next? What's next for you guys? Like, what's the macro plan? Obviously, you guys are down there, consolidating your lives now down in Bateman's Bay. You've got a good little property portfolio that's just like ticking along there, doing its thing. I remember on our large coaching session, we're like, look, let's just, you know, let the whole property thing go for a few years and just sort of consolidate in the area there. What have you guys got planned over the next sort of couple of years together?
Well, first sort of like point of call, I don't work down here yet. I still work in Sydney. So trying to get a position down here so I can stay at home all the time and not have to travel away from my family, and so that's kind of like the goal. Yeah, the next goal.
And you tap back up to that Liverpool region, don't you? I remember you saying.
Yeah, Liverpool, so southwest Sydney. So,
yeah.
Unfortunately, I've got family to stay with up there. So I'm doing another drive-in, drive-out sort of scenario to Sydney. But, hopefully I'll get a position down here in the next 12 months or so, and go from there.
They obviously know that you're looking for that, and if as soon as there's an opening, it comes up, then hopefully you get allocated it.
Yeah, look, we can hope. The unfortunate nature of the ambulance services is that many new graduates to fill positions. They tend to not put too much effort into putting people to where they want to go. So,
right.
It's up to me to kind of figure that out. And if I might have to go country for a couple of years or something to get enough sort of credit to come back here.
Yeah. So there you go, mate, for sure. John and Sarah, I'm in awe of both of you. I love who you are as people. I still love being your coach. I love that you've chosen Axon to be your, property firm and your property partner. I love what you do in the community. I love the way you're growing your family. I love the way that, John, you don't have any bits of breadcrumb hanging out of your beard today. Thank you very much. Thanks so much for joining us on Axon's Unleashed. And ladies and gents, I hope you really, really enjoyed that story. This is a real story of grit and determination, and just making sure that no matter what crazy stuff life is throwing you at any one time, if you just work through it in a systematic way, whether you've got a coach or not, completely up to you. But just rest assured that this too shall pass and everything will be okay. John and Sarah, thanks so much for joining me on Axon's Unleashed. See you guys soon.
Thanks, Robbie.
Thanks, buddy. Righto, bye.